And welcome back to the Primal Scream. I'm Matt.
And I am Todd.
As always, right, Todd?
Always is, yeah, look at that. Look at that bright blue shirt on.
You're
bright
pretty,
blue.
You're pretty bright blue.
Yeah,
I might
you
have
can't see
to-
my nipples through this is the best part because I just got like these diamond-encrusted nipples that
Diamond-encrusting nipples.
really stand out when I am cold. So.
Man, that looks a lot bluer than it actually is.
Oh my God, you're not kidding. If I look down, it seems a little more subtle.
That's a really crazy blue.
We need some shit on your desk. You know how people have like little statues and little things, little knickknacks. I think you probably need to do that, but you try to be a professional, so I understand what you're trying to do. I get it.
I try to be. Let me see if I can. Change this up a little bit. I don't know if I can. Oh wait.
I don't think you need to fucking worry about it today. Do you?
Really?
I'm okay. Oh, there. See, the brightness isn't that high. Oh, the hue.
Is it the hue? Let me bring the hue down.
It didn't do anything for the hue.
It didn't.
Right, no?
I don't think it did.
No, it didn't do anything.
Wait, I'm on the wrong thing. That's why.
Oh, okay.
See, there we go. Now let's go to color.
Hue.
Oh, whoa!
Jesus,
hello,
that's freaky. Sorry, YouTube people.
Contrast.
Sorry, the
gamma.
one you.
Is it gamma?
Sorry, the one person that's watching this on YouTube. It's really fluctuating.
Saturation. Is that a little?
How
about we just keep it like that?
Yeah, that looks great. Then people can actually listen to what we have to say and
okay.
stop fucking
Can we move
around
on?
with this thing? Yeah.
Can we move on now?
Let me hit the reset button. There you go.
All right. And welcome back to the Primal Scream. I'm Matt.
I'm Todd.
Todd, we had some things to talk about today, did we not?
I do. I'll pull up my list. But the first thing I want to talk about was I was a little surprised. No, I should not. I stopped saying little surprised. Or I should say I shouldn't have been surprised that I
not
saw
have been surprised.
So many people kneeling at football games. And I wasn't, I did not watch. I watched 2 football games this weekend. I watched the 49ers play on Thursday night. And we all sat down as a family and watched this. It was really fun.
Okay.
And then we watched the Hawkeyes on Saturday. Great fucking football game.
Both. Yeah. A Hawkeye game was
fantastic
game because Penn State was supposed to smear the Hawks.
They're fourth in the nation.
And the Hawkeyes really did a great job, except for their offensive team the first half of the game.
Well, when you have a powerhouse like Penn State, you're going to have offenses and defenses both playing well. Our offense is okay. Our defense is fantastic, and it really proved itself the other night. So, again, I thought we did fantastic. That's beside the point. I was shocked. I mean, I think you messaged me and said, hey, what are we going to talk about?
Yeah.
And I was like, I knew some things that I want to talk about. Then I hopped on just like the news on my Apple little thing.
Yep.
And I'm telling you, it was just fucking flooded with the NFL, everybody kneeling at
protesting.
The NFL. Yeah. And I had just talked to somebody the other day who said, hey, what do you think about this? And I said, we've mentioned this on the podcast before.
Sure.
It was a nonviolent protest, and he did not want the attention for it. He sat down quietly on the bench near the water cooler just to sit down and say, hey, just for myself, I need to sit down and take a breath and let people realize that the facts are proven that black men are shot and killed in this country more often than not, unfortunately. And there's lots of circumstances that are surrounding that on both sides. I get it. But
now this is him saying, this is Kaepernick. Right?
I'm saying this.
Oh, you're saying this.
I'm saying this.
All right,
That there's a reason why people get upset about things.
Okay.
That seems to be a lot of.
But can I throw something in there? I mean, if it was you quoting Kaepernick,
I'm not quoting Kaepernick.
Okay.
I'm just quoting myself. So I'm thinking that from what I've heard, and I'm paraphrasing him, is that inside black communities, there's a real distrust with the police because of the things that we've all now seen on videotape, and they're saying, listen. You're seeing it now. We've lived multiple generations and having to deal with this kind of treatment, and now it's becoming much more apparent that now everybody's going, oh, okay, so this is what you've been talking about. And I'm not saying that there's situations where cops have to shoot somebody because it's a dangerous situation, or that there aren't bad cops out there as well. But overall, he was just saying, listen, this is a big deal to me. I'm going to silently sit down as protest for myself to do this. And then the media fucking blew it out of control.
Right.
To the point that the guy to this day is probably still maybe not the best quarterback in the NFL and the top 10 quarterbacks in the NFL, but probably in the top 5 best athletes that have ever come into the NFL. And he's sitting at home. But he's not really sitting at home. He's actually still in his community, still working, trying to. He protested it. He's also investing money in communities and doing things outreach wise on top of it. So he's not just sitting back and saying, "Hey, I don't like this stuff." He's giving his time and his money away, even when he's not working anymore. He's not making money as an NFL player right now. And I'm sure he's not hurting for money either, but he's still giving money.
You never know, because isn't it the leading bankruptcies are professional athletes?
Right. Yeah, you never know. So I just think it's important to recognize that it started out as a pretty benign thing, and we turned it into this crazy thing, and then you add in our retarded president, and I'm telling you, he takes things to another level. I mean, if he didn't want Kaepernick to get a job, he could have just been quiet, and he probably wouldn't have got a job. Now players are getting to the point where they're forcing, like they're going to say, if you don't fucking hire this guy, all he did was say, I don't agree with this.
What do you mean that players are forcing?
Like
give an example.
So now we have whole entire offensive lines, starting offensive lines and starting defensive lines, all taking a knee.
Right, but they're taking a knee, as far as I know, they're taking a knee in retaliation to the words that Trump said, if anyone takes a knee.
Right.
Or if anybody doesn't stand up, put their hand over their heart for the American anthem.
Right. Yes.
Or the national anthem, then they should be fired. And consumers, people who are coming to watch the games, should protest the games by not buying tickets. So the players, I'm sure there's a percentage that the players are supporting a fellow player, Kaepernick, but a lot of it, I think, and I believe all around the world, even in England, there's like 26, I believe, teams. I'll put the article in the description below on YouTube. But there's 26 teams, I believe. All players kneeled.
Oh, really?
Or they didn't come out of the locker room, or they sat on the bench.
Interesting.
In retaliation to what Trump said, as far as, no, you better fucking fire him. You should fire him, or whatever he said.
Maybe I'm extrapolating two things. I guess I'm saying that Kaepernick kind of started that.
Yeah,
and
for sure.
I guess I didn't realize. I mean, I didn't even realize the extent to that tweet. Hits people, and I guess that's part of my issue is can we not just say, hey, listen, I don't agree with this. I'm not screaming and yelling. I'm not making a big fucking deal about it. I'm just saying, hey, listen, I don't agree with what's happening in the situation. And even then, when he got a lot of shit for sitting on the bench, he met with veterans on purpose to say, listen, Kaepernick, to say I was not doing this to be against the United States or the United States flag. I was just trying to say,
against you as a veteran.
Or against you as a veteran.
Right.
And a veteran was the one who talked him into kneeling instead of sitting on the bench. A veteran did that with him, saying, why don't you kneel instead of sitting down? That at least shows a little bit of respect so we can understand where you're coming from. He's like, you know what? I'm down for that. I can do that. So he immediately changed his mind.
But you know what? If he would have kneeled and not had that conversation with that, if nobody would have covered the conversation with a veteran,
right,
saying, hey, by the way, I'm going to do this instead of this because I want you all to know that I still have respect for America. I just don't have respect for that song, because that song promoted slavery back in the day, if you really want to understand the lyrics. I mean,
sure,
there's thought to this.
Yes.
If someone just shows up and takes a knee, nobody knows what the fuck he's doing.
Right.
Nobody knows the significance between sitting on the bench or taking a knee or sitting in the locker room or taking a knee. You know what I mean?
Right, which just goes back to the original thing. He sat down for himself, not for anybody else.
And he was quiet about it. Yeah.
And that's really kind of the core thing. And it really does, to me, show like blaring example of the difference between somebody doing something for themselves and somebody doing something for something else. Because again, why would Trump tweet out about this if he really was trying to be thoughtful about what he was going to say instead of these? I mean, I had thought for some reason that like the Trump tweeting had kind of slowed down for a while. I'd been hearing, murmurs that he was being more presidential and things were kind of changing. And then I saw that tweet and I thought, wow, do you really just... It's like you want to inflame things and you want to ride the wave that it kind of creates in a way. But it's so like juvenile. It's so, I mean, it's almost like a little kid that like doesn't have any internal monologue. Yeah. And so they have to like just say
this era of no inner monologue. You and I are not having an inner monologue. Right. Nobody fucking has an inner monologue anymore, right. It seems like. The people that do have an inner monologue, I look at and I go, fake. Fake. Bitch, you don't feel like that. You don't feel like that. You know what I mean? Right. And people are parsing their words like we were talking about on the last podcast. Like, oh my God, people on the Joe Rogan podcast can't even say what they feel. I realize he's in a position of power, the ultimate power in the United States as the president. But
should he have to parse his words?
Should he have to parse his words? Is it an opinion of his? Hey, listen, these are employees. The national anthem is important to me. If it was me, I'd fire him. Mm-hmm. Should he be able to say that? Why can't he say that?
Yeah, why can't he say that? Yeah.
But you took offense to it. I'm just throwing it out there, right?
No, sure.
I'm glad that you actually brought this up or that this happened this last weekend because a buddy of mine that I work with brought up the national anthem. And I don't know if he was spurred by what happened on Sunday football.
I would assume.
Well, this happened Saturday. So
maybe not.
Then maybe not. But he was saying...
Well, every week it's been happening, so I guess I see what you're saying.
Okay, well, he was referencing in particular high school football because he went to his kid's homecoming game, and he's like, what the fuck is with kids anymore not standing up for the national anthem? Oh, not taking their hats off. I just want to fucking smack them in the head and tell them, put your fucking hand over your heart, stand the fuck up, show some respect. I said, okay, hey, man, that's cool. I have no problem with that attitude. And I'm not saying right or wrong, okay? I'm just going to throw out some questions here because I think it's curious. I think it's really fascinating to me because I can't wrap my brain around it. It is truly an enigma on why we place certain importance on things. And then if you change the dial, if you just vary a few ingredients, all of a sudden, you don't give a fuck. You have your hat on. You're going to take a shit when the national anthem's happening. For example, he's making this big deal, rightfully so, because I feel like people should stand up. Mm-hmm. I don't feel like I should punch somebody or smack their hats off of them. Or I'm not going to get that violent with it, but I am disturbed. I am
perplexed by it?
Not perplexed. I'm disgruntled. I feel bad. Like, Jesus, I'm kind of disgusted with the idea that younger people don't hold any values of what I hold. It seems like. Right? And when he was bringing this up, I just thought to myself, why is it? I go, so it's really important to you, right? He goes, yeah, it's really fucking important to me. He was in the Marines. He met the president. I mean, he was like the poster boy for the Marines. You know, like when you have like one Marine, one Navy officer, one Air Force guy, one Army guy standing with the flag and they're meeting important people. He was one of those people. He was like super fucking squared away, top-notch soldier boy, right? The image of him was, right? So I can understand why it's important to him that this stuff is kind of being disgraced, disrespected. But I said, so what? So you feel this way? Yeah, I feel this way. I totally feel this way. All right. So when you're at home watching a football game, do you stand? Do you take your hat off? Does it bother you if anybody's milling around in the kitchen? I mean, he goes, well, I mean, they're presenting the colors. I go, at a football game, it's super important to you at a football game. Change the scenario up slightly. You're at home. Do you get off the fucking couch? Well, no. Why? They're presenting the colors. You just said, these are the reasons why it's important to me. And he said, no, I don't stand up. I don't take my hat off. I can go take a shit. I'll go to the fridge. I'll do whatever. National anthem is happening, right? And a lot of times we just cut to commercial.
Oh, yeah, they don't. Yeah, that's true.
Right? Mm-hmm. Or we'll do an advertisement or something. So this spurred this conversation, and I just kept going deeper and deeper with it. Like I'm really, really trying to understand the human psyche. Why do we place such importance on certain things? You change it slightly, it should still be important to you. Mm-hmm. These are the reasons why you said it was important. Hey, man, it's our country, national anthem. They're presenting the colors. The fucking flag is moving. It's important. All right. all those things are still happening, yet you're watching it on TV. So why do you not? Is it because there's people around you?
Or you're not there physically?
Well, why should that matter? If it's an emotional, untangible, patriotic thing, why does it matter if you're there or not there?
You'd be listening to a lot of national anthems and doing a lot of standing. If you watch, 2 games on Saturday and 2 games on Sunday, you're going to be listening to a lot of national anthems and doing a lot of standing and putting your hand over your heart. And that sounds ridiculous, but if you're following your line of thought, then yes, it makes sense.
So I brought up this example. I said there's 2 groups of people that just on facts alone, let's just look at the facts. These 2 groups of people that I've met are the most sincere people I've ever met. One was Mormons. The Mormon that I know always dresses nice. He always is helping other people. He actually walks the walk. He's taking care of his elders. He's part of his church or whatever, the Mormon church. I mean, he's very involved, but he never preaches it. I have to ask about it, And I thought, Mormons, you always, hey, have you heard the good news? There's always there's always people walking around. They're always dressed white and black, ties, fucking hot as shit, carrying around their Bibles, whatever it is. And I just got to fucking hand it to them because 99 times out of 100, whack, that door is going to be shut in their face.
Right.
But they keep coming back day after day after day. I mean, it's relentless.
Yes.
But it's inspiring because this is how I feel. It doesn't fucking matter the circumstances. It doesn't matter if it's raining. It doesn't matter if it's cold. It doesn't matter if it's blistering heat. I'm still going to do what I say is important to me. Mm-hmm. So it doesn't matter. There's no variables to it, right? Muslims, at certain times of the day, they have their rugs, they kneel down, they pray. There's these certain times. I don't give a fuck what's happening. I got to go do my thing. Mm-hmm. Again, 2 completely different groups of people, yet they're saying, hey, this is important to me. Like this guy is saying the national anthem is important to him so much that he's getting angry about it. He's willing to put hands on somebody.
So no matter where you are, no matter what you're doing, if the national anthem is being played and you're going to take it to that level, then you should be standing up and putting your hand over your heart and singing along.
Yeah, or recognize that you have unreasonably connected an emotion to a thought.
Right.
Like I said, to me, it's an ongoing questioning type of attitude of why do I care about things that I care about? Why does it fucking matter? Type of a thing. And Jesus Christ, look how angry you are.
Right.
Look how fucking angry you are. Are you putting any thought into it, or is it just emotion? Is there any logic, or is it just emotion? Because it just seems like anything we talk about anymore, anything that we respond to anymore, it's just based on emotion. Mm-hmm.
There's no understanding happening. Because I mean, that's the thing is I personally stand for the national anthem as well, but I can certainly understand where Colin Kaepernick is coming from. Yeah. I can certainly understand your friend. I mean, I understand that too. Sure. And I don't have to pick a side. I can just be understanding to both points of view and let it go. But we really have this, you have to take a side. You got to be on somebody's team or something's wrong with you. It's pretty much, you can't be an outlier. You can't be out there floating by yourself.
Well, here's the other thing, because I was talking to my buddy Tim about this on the way home. And Tim's got a very straightforward, very conservative way of thinking. And anytime I want to just get fucking bare bones facts, boom, gut reaction, it's from Tim, right? Like caveman, which I appreciate. It's a traditional, and when people say traditional viewpoint, it shouldn't be fucking smeared. It shouldn't be looked down upon when somebody says, I have a traditional point of view, morality. So I asked him about this on the way home the other night. And he was kind of going into it like what you and I were talking about, gave some examples, which we've already said. And then I said, do you think any of it has to do with tradition? Like, how much of this is tradition? How much of this is us facing our own mortality?
Like, you've always done this, so it's...
Right. And when I said this to him, he looked at me like, dude, why do you have a dick growing out of your forehead? Like, he was really confused. Why are you going this route? But all of us want to leave something behind, right? And if I say, you know, this is what we're doing for Christmas, and the idea of it, the idea of my grandchildren saying, well, you know what? We used to do this with Grandpa Sculla, great Grandpa Sculla, and it was awesome. This was a tradition that he had, and I'm leaving something behind. There's a memorial of some kind attached. There's that feeling attached to a tradition. And the tradition is you stand, you put your fucking hand over your heart, and you take your hat off. And so for the older generation or soldiers who feel like they're being dissed and not understanding why people aren't standing, because I think that's two different things. I think veterans and younger conservatives are pissed because they feel like they're getting the finger for their patriotism, right? Yet older people, I feel like, are upset about it because he's not following through with a tradition. The tradition is my legacy that I've been a part of, and my father and his father has been stand up, put your fucking hand over your heart, show your patriotism. Oh, and by the way, when you're at home and you're watching a football game, you don't have to do that. That's not part of the tradition. But the tradition is do this
when
at
you're
a
there,
game.
right?
So is some of this emotion that we're placing upon this act, is it based on our fear that we're not going to be remembered? Is it attached to legacy? What do you think?
Yeah, I think it's both of those things. But I still think that it can be as long as it's understood, or you give somebody the benefit of the doubt. Do you know anything? That's what I think when it comes down to is I think it can be all those things. But if we start approaching each other in the idea of, hey, you know, I don't understand why you're doing. Why are you taking a knee? Oh, I'm taking a knee because I'm part of the African American community and I feel like they're being mistreated. So for myself, I'm just going to take a knee. You know, I believe in the military. I believe in America. It's for myself. I'm going to do this. And that person can say like, oh, well, okay, I still think it's fucked up, but at least I understand where you're coming from. It's like somebody cutting you off in traffic and you just assume that they're being a cock to you.
Whereas they might be trying to get to the hospital.
Yes, or they're late, or something else is wrong, or maybe they are being an asshole. But if you're trying to if you approach your world in a little bit more of a positive way, that not everything is going against you, that the world is not against you all the time, then it's hard.
That's a hard sell.
It's a hard sell. But guess what? If we all gave a little bit more effort on doing that, I think we'd all be a little bit more happier, and then maybe the world would be a little bit better of a place. But I think it comes down to all those things. I think it is tradition. I think it is patriotic. I think all those things apply. But if we all started, you know, having an overarching better opinion of each other and giving each other the benefit of the doubt, I don't think you'd have these situations, because then a reporter can say, hey, listen, you know, why were you sitting down? And he had a conversation about it, but he had to be forced to have that conversation so that we all understood about it, because the media just started blasting away at him sitting. And so then he had to come out and talk about it, right?
Honestly, I don't think anybody fucking noticed it until the reporter said, hey, by the way, I noticed that you weren't standing.
What's that?
I've actually just brought attention to it. I know you were trying to do your own thing, and you weren't trying to bring attention to yourself. I don't know. Doesn't matter. Whatever.
Yeah, and I have the audio of him talking in the locker room when they finally brought it up and talked to him about it, and he was fucking eloquent and smart, and his approach to it, I was like going, I don't think you could have given a better answer. You know, because he wasn't saying, oh, hey, you know, I can do whatever the fuck I want. And he also wasn't, you know, being a pussy about going, oh, well, blah, blah, blah. He was saying, this is how I feel about it. This is why I did it.
Yeah, but you know, that all.
Say again. Go ahead.
But why? Why does he have to be eloquent? Yeah. Why can't he just say, because I didn't fucking want to stand? And you can please leave so I can take a shower.
It goes back to what you said,
fucking
probably.
Leave.
This world is just what it is. We are saturated with the media. Like my kids in the car on the way to school today. were like, "Hey, did you hear that Kylie Jenner's pregnant?" And I go, "What?" And they're like, "Kylie Jenner's pregnant." I was like,
"Why do you fucking care?"
I said, "So why you're in 8th grade heading to school? Why do you care what Kylie Jenner is doing?" And he's like, "Oh, it popped up in my newsfeed or something like that." And I was like, "Yeah, we need to think about the things we give our energy to." And Kylie Jenner, I don't know who she is. Sorry, I didn't say that. I didn't say. I said I know who she is, but she doesn't have an impact on my life at all. So, bye. I don't need to have any of that information in my head.
Here, Kylie Jenner for your boys. What is it? I can't even think of his name. There's 2 brothers.
Oh, those guys that do the videos.
They're terrible music videos.
But they're silly and dumb.
Oh,
and
yeah,
that's why
they're
kids
silly.
like it.
Well, I don't even know if they're silly. Well, they are a little silly, but they're fucking. Why? But why are we putting time to it? And I really do feel like I have the gut feeling that a lot of our woes here in America is based on this idea that the conservative point of view feels threatened because everyone else wants to throw away tradition. Everybody else wants to go back in time and erase history and get rid of statues and change fucking high school mascots because it's offensive. Bitch, it's a fucking name. It's an image. You should not fucking fall apart and be a little pussy because if you're offended by it, don't fucking go. Don't say the word. Don't go to that fucking high school. You have power and you don't have to fall apart because of it. Oh, my monitor's just flickered.
Sorry, it just scared me.
But I think that's really, I mean, down to the nuts and bolts of it, I think there's an attack on what we consider traditional. And I think that tradition is extremely, it's an extremely sensitive subject to a lot of people, especially to conservatives who want to say, I have a very conservative moral ethic code. This is how I live my life, and my family or whoever has lived this way for a long, long time, and you want to fucking go back in time
or blur any lines,
and you want to fucking blur it now. Yeah. And why this gets dangerous is just like this. You had said earlier that about the police shooting and about black men being shot more every year and than white men or whatever, right? What was your statement? Do you remember?
No, I don't, but it's an off-the-hand statement, and I don't know all the facts about it.
Sure. But when we just say those things...
Without knowing the background?
Without knowing... I mean, we shouldn't even have to be... We should, in some regards, be expected to have numbers if we're going to throw that shit out, right?
Sure.
We should also be able to recognize, well, who's shooting those black men? Is it all cops? Is it black men on black men violence? Why is that violence happening? Is it happening between 2 criminals? Is it happening between gangs? Because, I don't know, I suppose gangs can't be criminals or, I don't know. All right. Is it, how much of that total number has to do with police shooting black men? Now, am I saying that that's not an issue? Am I saying that there are innocent people who get shot by police when they shouldn't? Sure. But now we're blurring the lines to where we're saying, and there's huge protests going on with a police car got burned. Did you hear about the college student who called 911, gave a description of himself? Okay, so yeah. he wrote 3 suicide notes, called the police, called 911, gave a description of himself, said that this person has a knife and could possibly be armed, and I think he's really, really dangerous.
Okay.
So then the police show up. The guy now from this point on, somebody has a phone. They're taking video of it, of the situation.
Okay.
The cops pull their guns. Here's the guy. They get called to the scene. He's wearing the exact shit that the caller said he was wearing. He's carrying something in his hand. The caller said he has a knife. For sure, he might be armed. The guy is screaming at the police, "Shoot me! Shoot me!" He's screaming at the police over and over and over again. The police are like, I don't know, 20, 30 feet away. I don't know because I don't have a tape measure. But they're saying over and over and over to this young man, sir, drop your knife. Drop the knife, sir. Drop it. Over and over and over.
Right.
He doesn't. And he keeps walking towards the police. What happens?
He gets shot.
He gets shot and he's dead. How does the story play out in the media? Obviously, that comes out, what I just told you. But before all that comes out, riots happen and they say, police wage war on what was it? They gendered college student. They turn it into police kill this type of sexual person.
Right.
Instead of saying a mentally ill fucking idiot who wanted to die got his wish tonight.
Right.
It's not the fucking police's fault.
Right.
The police should not have to go, oh, wait, by the way, I see you're mentally disturbed. Were you the fucking person that called 911? Was that you silly goat? Right. Oh, I'm sorry. You don't want to be referred to as goat. How about he? Sir, please put the knife down. I don't want to be called her, sir. I want to be called they. Now that is true. When he would go on his rallies... When he's the leader of some some group.
This kid. Oh, okay. So he was a part of a bigger group, and he
was just by himself when he got killed.
Oh, I know, but I mean, overall, he was
the leader of some group.
Okay.
Some gender group, and he preferred to be called they.
Okay. But that has nothing to do with his mental illness, does it? Of him getting shot.
Fuck yeah. Dude, if I want to be called they, if you come up to me and go, hey, man, how's it going? I prefer you call me they. You would probably think you're fucking crazy. Why would you want to be considered a plural person? You're giving me this eyebrow thing.
Because I'm thinking I would call you they, and I don't have an issue with that.
Whoa,
but
dude, no. That's where the blur. You're losing. There's fucking reality. The reality is, in the 80s, the 70s, fucking go back to caveman era. If you came up to me and I go, we are all having a good time. And you're looking at me going, there's one motherfucker here. Why is he talking to himself in the plural? We, they. You're fucking crazy. You're crazy. It's not about, hey, I want to be called a zebra. Hey, guess what? You're still fucking crazy. You have a mental illness. I'm not gonna beat around the bush. I'm not gonna try to make people feel better. You're fucking crazy. And if you want to be called they, you also are fucking crazy. And if I have a crazy person who wants to be called they walking at me with a knife, now it turns out that he had a multi-purpose tool, which I don't fucking care. You wrote 3 suicide notes. A description was given to 911. You had something in your hand, and the caller said he has a knife and he might be armed.
Well, it sounds to me like he was wanting to get shot. Yeah.
Yeah. So why the fuck? And this is why I think it's such a serious situation that we've blurred our lines, and everybody's like, "Why is it such a big deal? Why do you get so worked up about this stuff? It's no big deal. I mean, can't you just be nice and not offend people and not call them they? Why do you have to make such a big deal about this? Because a police car got fucking set on fire. You have millions of dollars being spent on security at Berkeley so that somebody can come and just have a talk. Because if they don't, fucking riots will happen and property will be damaged because people are out of their fucking minds.
And this goes back to that whole team thing. So in other words, if you're not,
I think it goes back to traditions.
Well, yeah. I mean, if you're not against that, if you're not against, the system, and you're not with the they people, then you are somehow with the other people. Like you can't be in between. You're either with them or you're against them. Period. And that's where to me, there's no understanding on either side of it about that. That if you're not on my team, then you must be on the other person's team. But you can't be on your own island.
But the problem comes back to media. I think every problem comes back to media. They either inflate the situation or they don't tell the situation properly, the who, what, when, where, why of the scenario. There's just this knee-jerk reaction. And guess what? I'm not the media. I'm not a news network. This is totally an opinion show.
Yeah.
So check what I say. If I'm wrong, fucking call me out on it on YouTube.
But I think you're right.
If somebody is mentally disturbed and they want to die and they call the police and they're coming towards the police and the police are telling them over and over and over again, the police have covered their asses. They've gone through their steps. They've communicated intent. They've brandished a weapon. They're protecting themselves.
And as far as I'm concerned, we now know that his intent was just the same thing too.
But in the media, they're playing it out as the police have a war against these people.
Right.
Because he was connected to
whatever
a group
that he was part of. Right. I guess I would agree with you. It seems, I mean, the more, I think I've told you, I haven't, I think I might have posted something on Facebook in the last 30 days. But I think it's more about my kids. But I don't get on there anymore. And it has been the most liberating thing ever. I mean, it's so, now listen, do I feel disconnected? I do. I do feel disconnected because I'm not
part of the hive.
I'm not part of the hive. I'm not getting any information from people that I know or friends and things like that. So I'm not getting any information. But it kind of also made me think about what is important, and it really is the people around me that I consider important that I really should give my focus to. That's not to say that my cousin in California, who I love dearly, I don't want to see what they have going on in their lives, or friends and family for that matter. But what really matters are the people that I'm in contact with around my circle. And as long as I'm informed and those people around me we're informed with each other, then I should be pretty good. And so I think that's why I haven't felt this tremendous pull to go back to it, because I'm pretty happy. I know what's going on with you. I know what's going on with my significant other and our families. Yeah. What else do I really need to have besides that? I'm great. I don't watch TV very much anymore, which is why I get caught off guard when I'm like, oh yeah, what are we going to talk about? And I pull it up. I'm like, what the fuck happened in the NFL? Jesus, the whole world's collapsing, right? Because the media is just.
The media makes it out.
But they're also giving people what they want to hear. The media is telling people what they want.
Yeah.
So people want to see this stuff. People want to see these crazy, outlandish stories. That's why the minute news became a paid-for thing, it fucking tanked. You know, there are no Cronkites left. Everybody's going, okay, I know I'm going to sit down tonight. Cronkite? Walter Cronkite?
Walter.
Yeah.
Walter Cronkite.
Yeah. Old man who, when JFK got shot, took his glasses off, looked at the clock, and wiped a tear away. That guy is no longer around. We don't have one person that we come to just to get the news from. But even then, we found the news is manipulated too. But at least it wasn't so saturated in everything, so that when I'm sitting with my kids in the car and I'm thinking like, oh, we got a tennis match coming up, or oh, hey, what are you learning in Spanish, or things like that. It's more of like they're walking into a classroom going, I wonder what Kylie Jenner is going to name her baby. I wonder if it'll be South, so it'll be the opposite of North, which is what Kim named her baby. Do you see? You know what I'm saying? Like your brain starts doing different things. Yeah,
Idiocracy. It's we are bringing that movie to bear. We are creating the movie Idiocracy.
But it goes back to what you said, though. But because we're so media saturated, and we're being fed the things we want to be fed, and we're only listening to the voices that we want to listen to that feed us the things that we want to hear, we're going to get news stories like that kid.
Yeah,
committing suicide by cop, which happens a lot, which is kind of scary because the police they have to follow protocols and they're doing their jobs, and somebody's like, I know what they're doing, and I'm going to use that to my advantage.
Here's another thing that I'm not going to be very popular for, but guess what? It's my fucking show, so fuck off. If you don't like it, don't watch it.
Our show.
Come on. So I apologize. But here's another view that's not very popular. If we had legal suicide, this wouldn't be an issue.
I agree.
Because that kid would have went to a doctor or would have went to a hospital and said, I don't like this anymore. My brain, the chemicals in my brain or whatever, they're firing in such a way that I don't want to be here. I don't want to be here. Fuck, I don't even know if I'm a man. Mm-hmm. I don't know if I'm a man, if I'm a woman, I'm a they, I'm a goat, I don't know what I am. All I know is I'm depressed and I don't want to be here because this world sucks because I can't make sense of it. Okay, young man. How about we call your parents? Who would you like to say goodbye to? Who would you like to be here with you in your final moments? And I'm going to give you an injection, and you're going to drift off. And that should be the reality. I mean, that should be an option, but it's not an option. So for everybody who that's not an option for, you have to do crazy shit like this. And then that stokes a fire of hatred for police. And I think it's ridiculous. And I think that, listen, one, we're overpopulated on this earth enough. Every single issue that we have on this earth, I've said it a million times, can come back to overpopulation. Everything comes back to overpopulation. And if people truly are broken, and I think that's what it is, there's people who are broken. And if you're that broken and you don't want to be here, why do I have a right to tell you that, nope, no, Todd, you have to fucking stay here. Not only do you have to stay here, but you have to stay medicated. You have to be in this fucking droned out fucking, I don't feel like myself.
Right.
I don't want to eat. I just don't feel right. Why do I have a choice over that? This is your life. This is your ride, right, through life. How is it that I can tell you what to do? Which is my biggest fucking issue. Now that I'm older, it's really hit me. Why does anybody have a choice to tell somebody else what they can or cannot do?
I had this conversation last night with a group that I meet with, my lady and I. Every
Bible study.
Actually, it's not. It's just more of it's like a fellowship kind of thing. It's not a Bible study. We don't study the Bible. Ew, don't do that. But we were talking about the right to die, and I was like, because we were talking about ALS and CTE, and because that's something I want to talk about. The little segue, but we were talking about that, and I was like, if I am in a bed and my body is breaking down around me, and it's being kept alive, and I can only converse with you through eye movements to spell words and blinking, but my whole entire brain is the same as I am right now. But I
just said, fuck off.
You don't have to blink to do that. Just your stare. Your stare works great.
I couldn't put my middle finger up.
That's right. But I said, I better not be alive. Like, I remember my grandfather, God, bless him, was a wonderful guy. And, every day him not being here is difficult sometimes. But when he took too many medication on accident because he forgot, because he had a little bit of dementia, he woke up and he was intubated. And my brother was there with his wife, and my grandfather was pointing at this tube in his mouth going, get this out of my mouth right now. And my brother said my grandfather was a very pacifist, quiet, peaceful guy. He said he's never seen like anger like that. And so my sister-in-law is a nurse. She clipped the tubes, took the tube out, and because it was his directive. And he goes, I have a DNR. Why am I alive? He was so upset.
Whoa.
Go ahead.
I apologize for interrupting your story, which was, by the way, riveting.
Oh, shut up. Don't make me feel bad. What? Go ahead.
But that sounds like he wanted to die.
Yes. No, his idea, and I wouldn't say he wanted to die.
No.
He wanted to die. If his death was imminent, he wanted to follow through.
Dude, you started the story with, and this may bother you.
Okay.
But you started the story with, my grandfather took too many pills. I think it was because of his dementia. And then as soon as he woke up, why the fuck is this in my throat? I have a DNR. To me, just with what you threw at me.
Sure.
Now, if I knew your grandfather and I was part of the situation,
go ahead.
It sounded like he tried to kill himself.
Oh. No, he didn't try to kill himself. But that being said, it still goes back to...
I'm just saying, if I took too many pills, if I did, and the first thing that is out of my mouth is get this fucking thing out of my throat, right. I have a DNR, why am I alive?
Right.
If that's my first thought...
It totally could have been. I don't know.
I'm not trying to destroy your image of your grandfather.
No. The image of my grandfather has been challenged a lot, and even with those challenges,
did he wear a dress?
I've accepted like that. No, he could be gay. Most of his life, it's like a real thing.
I was just kidding about the dress thing.
That's a drastic thing, but no, that he could have. That most of his life, that he was one of these closeted men who had 6 wonderful children and had an incredible career as a minister, and he very well could have been closeting of his life, his entire life, and that's painful to think about, somebody not being able to be who they want to be their entire life because society just does not deem that okay during his lifetime. But he very well could have committed suicide by having taken too many pills. Very well could have happened. But the idea, though, that even he said, I don't want to be kept alive, and he was. And so I can't remember our EMT training, but if you show up and somebody has a DNR, do you not revive them on the spot?
You are going to. This is the way I remember it. Anyway, This is the way I remember it. So this was a long time ago.
Yeah, it's been a bit.
But the way I remember it, and you can correct me in the YouTube comments below, you render aid immediately.
It's your
it's your
job,
responsibility until somebody provides you evidence of a DNR. That's why a lot of people wear the DNR tags on their wrist, or they have something on their necklace. And first responders, EMTs could see that, and if they see that, that's hey, all right.
Oh, so if you're sitting there giving resuscitation and you're trying to get them back, and somebody walks in and goes, "Hey guys, I have this DNR form right here," you just stop?
I believe so.
Interesting.
I believe so.
I don't remember that very well. So,
but if I was an EMTB and I was rendering aid, and there was no identification, there was no paperwork, I couldn't see shit, there was no one around,
you'd not be being a diligent person.
What? I mean, diligent?
You wouldn't be doing your job. I mean, you wouldn't.
If I didn't render aid.
Yeah, if you didn't render aid, you'd be in serious trouble.
Well, yeah, you couldn't just say.
I assumed he had a.
Hey, man, he's old. I assumed he had a DNR.
There's a little
Susie.
Do
that shit.
My grandfather, you bastard.
Somebody wrote on his palm. He might have wrote on his palm. DNR. That's not legally binding. I'm sorry.
Anyway, so we were talking. So that's came back to the whole thing of me saying, because ALS now with NFL players is being associated with CTE. They have a more aptitude to get ALS if they have a lot of CTE. And so I was talking about this. Like, you better just put a pillow over my face. Like, I would never want it to get to the point of me diminishing. You know what I'm saying?
You keep proving my point. Why you better just put a pillow over me? I hope to God that I live in a society to where if I choose to have my life taken from me, it's in a gentle, peaceful fucking way.
Right. Yeah, for sure. I mean, and why is that not okay?
Drives me fucking crazy.
As I just see, and I think part of it is that suffering part. It's like, why would you want to
quality of life?
Yes, and that's really difficult for some people. But I think that's difficult because people have thoughts about religion and what's after this life. But if you're at a point where you're just like, I am done. I am in mental anguish, like you said, mental pain all the time, physical pain all the time. I don't give two fucks what's after this life because this one is horrendous, and I got to get out.
Honestly, I think it all comes down to being selfish, right?
Personally selfish?
Yeah, that's what.
Like, I don't want my grandfather to die, so I want him to have. I don't want him to have a DNR.
I want to see you next Christmas, Grandpa.
Oh, sure, yeah, that's probably.
I want you to see. I want you to be at my wedding, Dad.
Mm-hmm.
I want you to give me away. Hey, listen. Every fucking moment is hell on this earth,
right?
And you're fucking giving me a guilt trip about your motherfucking wedding.
Right. Yes.
By the way, this wedding thing that you're bringing up is only a fucking it's like prom for you. It's a fucking day that you can be a princess for a day,
so, or your parents can make you be a princess for a day.
Yeah,
or it's for somebody else.
It's all about you, Kylie Jenner. Jesus Christ!
Right.
How about for a moment we not think about you and your fucking selfish acts, and for a second think of how much fucking pain I'm in, and it's not your fucking choice.
Well,
I don't want to be here.
I'll say this, and I'll just be specific about like the Kylie Jenner is your sister when you're in junior high. Your sister,
she was so hot.
Your sister fucking blows up the world, right? That Kim Kardashian the Kardashians become this. They're no longer this family. They're this entity, this empire of media. And so now you are just, you're an attractive kid. You become a model. You do some of those things kind of make sense, but it's in this saturated bubble of media that
I'm not blaming her.
I
I don't blame her.
right,
for your kids knowing that she's pregnant.
Right. Yeah, it's just part of the media escape.
I don't blame Kim Kardashian for having a big ass and big tits and wanting to fuck on camera. I don't blame her for that either. I blame all of us who are focused on all the insignificant shit, which brings us back to the reason why I even said that shit at the beginning about the national anthem. Why is it important to you? We don't understand it. We don't know. You don't know.
Right. And if it's important to you, awesome. It's important to you. Don't project that on everybody else.
Right.
That's pretty simple. Go back to CTE. So I just heard that, or I read an article that Aaron Hernandez, who is a tight end for what? Oh, there's a ghost sliding around.
This chair really wants me right in this fucking spot.
Aaron Hernandez, who was killed in prison.
27 years old.
27. And Gronkowski is the other tight end for the Patriots, and he was equally as good as Gronkowski, if not better. But he was implicated in the murder of 2 people and was implicated in the murders of 2 people in college. And they did a brain autopsy and took his brain, and they said that he had severe CTE.
Yeah.
And it just not that we need it to get any worse. And not that we need to have any more information.
We do.
We have so much information now. It's almost like when you hear about somebody who's in the NFL having some kind of anger control issues, suicidal things, all this stuff. It's like you just have to assume that's what it is now. What else could it really be besides smacking your brain against somebody else all the time? I was actually excited when I went to a football game this last weekend with my family, and I was watching the game, and I didn't see any significant hitting. I saw people getting tackled. I saw people, those kind of things, but I didn't see. It was like, when you watch like little kid football and they seem like they kind of fall on each other and they all fall.
Cute.
They all fall in a pile and their helmets are too big and their pads are too big. Yeah. It seemed kind of like that. It seemed like it was a mellower game that I was familiar with. There was still blocking and things like that, but there was no of these big cracks, these big huge hits, and so I was kind of happy to see that.
Right.
And I still have that contradiction inside myself, though, because I still love football, and I played it.
But that's part of the blurred lines. That's when you said earlier, we have enough. No, we don't. We don't have enough evidence. We don't have enough media coverage over CTE. My kids still want to play. My 11-year-old boys still just really drastically want me to say, yeah, go ahead and play football.
Both of them sat next to me. My kids sat next to me watching the game going, are you sure I can't play this, Dad?
Yeah, and they're saying now, and I'll look it up because the ages might be a little off from what I say. So I'll try to find the article and put it in the link in the description below so that we all can see it. But now they're saying that kids, boys, late teens, early 20s, have a significant change in personality due to CTE.
Oh, wow.
So even like all this little trauma, even the linemen that are
smacking foreheads,
and they're only going like 6 inches, right? That's still your brain smashing into the inside of your skull
over and over and over again.
Over and over and over again. Right.
Well, and this is 10 years ago that I saw the first Real Sports with Bryant Gumbel episode about head trauma in the NFL. And this is before they were forcing the NFL to say something, they wouldn't say anything. And Duke University had put sensors inside of a helmet, and this guy was carrying around this big fucking looking computer because, of course, it wasn't smartphone times yet, or it wasn't as good. And they were saying, and they were watching these guys just doing hitting drills, but not hard, offensive linemen were hitting each other and stopping and getting positioning and things like that.
Yeah.
But he was saying, look at that guy right there on the frontal lobe just had an impact that was this. And to the naked eye, you're looking going, they just stood up and bumped into each other. And this guy is saying, nope, he just smacked his forehead pretty hard against that guy's forehead, and that was significant enough that his sensor went off. And that was the first time that I was going, holy shit. So when I feel stupid having said I watched a gentler game on Friday. Because I
didn't bring that up to make you feel stupid.
I know that.
I bring it up because I don't feel like we're inundated enough.
You're right. Because I'm thinking back to that
how traumatic it is.
Those tackles on Friday night's game must have been harder than those guys just walking through drills and smacking into each other there was no harmful intent at all.
Yeah.
Because even now, I watch Hard Knocks on HBO with my kids. And my love's like, are you sure they should be watching this? And I was like, I think it's fun to see the backstory of football. I like that part of it, right? And so Hard Knocks is preseason, watching how people play, how they conduct themselves, and it's usually not very good. And kind of the inner workings of how a team is made and decided on, and who gets cut. And I think it's interesting. A lot of swearing, but other than that, it's pretty awesome. But there's one guy who was a linebacker. I forget his first name was Riley. I can't remember his last name, but he was in there going, "Gotta be fucking violent. Gotta fucking hit somebody. Be violent. It's a violent game. Be violent." Like, that's still the mentality. And so how can you not have CTE and not have it be that way? That's what football is, right?
That is the epitome of football. To say that it's not violence, to say that we don't enjoy violence, is we're being disingenuous.
Yes, absolutely.
Extremely disingenuous. When I watch MMA, I want to see violence. When I watch NASCAR, if I ever watch NASCAR, the only thing I'm looking for is a wreck. Right. I want to see violence. I want to see that crash. I want to see somebody get laid out on the floor in a cage. I want to see the big hit where somebody has to get carted off. To say that you don't get a little thrill from that, you're a fucking liar. You're being disingenuous, because we all get a little thrill from that. But we want to fool ourselves and go, "Oh, but it's not that big a deal. Should I feel bad that I was entertained by this? Should I feel bad that I endorse a war, but yet I'll say, how dare you? How dare you fly drones into that country? How dare you give the okay when innocents die?" Hey, we've all said it's okay. We've all endorsed the war. Because if we all weren't endorsing the war, every day we would be out there protesting against the war. Every day we'd be protesting against any soldiers, any American soldiers, being fucking anywhere other than the United States.
Right.
We are okay with it. You're okay with it. You're watching this show. You're listening to this. You're okay with war. You're okay with innocents dying. And you should be. You should be okay with innocents dying if you're saying we're okay with going to war. That's the reality of it. You can't have your cake and eat it too. You can't say, "Well, we should fight evil." Oh, but I'm under the delusion that nobody bad will die.
Right. Or nobody good.
I'm sorry. Yeah. Nobody good will die.
Mm-hmm. No, you're right. And so I'm under the delusion that watching a kindler, gentler looking varsity football game on Friday night didn't involve CTE.
Sure.
That's delusional.
Now, let's take it a step further. Why can't we be honest with ourselves and go, "I don't fucking care about you. I don't care about you, the running back, because I don't fucking know you. And I don't care about you, the wide receiver, who just got fucking smeared on a cross pattern and caught it right in the middle of the field and just got laid the fuck out. I don't give a fuck about you. I don't give a fuck about you, the 6-year-old kid who just got his legs blown off in Iraq. And I don't give a fuck about you, the lady that I'll never fucking meet that never doesn't speak English. And I don't give a fuck about you, the transgendered kid at whatever college who just asked to be killed." Why can't we be honest about that? But we don't. We shy away from that. You know, we think...
Because reality is we don't really care. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, the reality is we don't really care. Because if we really, really fucking cared, we wouldn't endorse football. We wouldn't watch football games. We wouldn't watch soccer games. We wouldn't watch MMA. We wouldn't watch boxing. We might watch basketball because there's no fucking head collisions there on purpose. Right. You know?
Baseball probably is okay.
We wouldn't endorse war at all. But we don't care. But a lot of people, millions of fucking Americans, convince themselves, no, they fool themselves. No, I do care. I do care. I'm a good person. I don't endorse violence. I think what you're saying is incomprehensible, irreprehensible.
Lots of big words today, bud.
Right? Mm-hmm. How dare you say that a transgendered person can't have these rights? It's because I don't fucking care. I don't know them. I don't care about them. Done. I care about my family. I care about the people that I'm interacting with. And everybody outside of that norm that's changing my reality.
Or trying to change it.
Or trying to change the reality. And creating all this drama that's stirring up all these crazy, stupid emotions in my kids, wanting to know what Kylie Jenner's going to name her kid, you're invading in my space. You're invading the country of Matt or Todd. And I don't like your fucking invasion, because this how I rule my little country is a safe place. Get the fuck out of my country. You know what I mean? I think it's liberating, and I think it's really the only true, honest way to be is just say, listen, I'm pretty fucked up. I'm a fucked up individual, because I'll be honest, I don't fucking care about you. And I shouldn't.
And why do you think you shouldn't? Because it's not important to you in particular.
How can you possibly be expected to give a fuck about 8 billion people?
Right.
Let's be honest.
And so do we all just try to find the little things that kind of fit in our world that are important to us? And it's like, ooh, that is kind of important to me, so I'm going to glam onto that a little bit and not be honest with themselves and say, I just don't give a shit about any of it other than what it affects me.
Is it important? Is it important that we know if Kylie Jenner is pregnant? No, I'm sad that you even brought it up.
Right.
Okay? Because I've said it I don't know how many times now, because this is part of the narrative.
Right.
But is it important? Is it important to me? Is it important to my happiness today? Is it important that when you leave here, I'm going to start writing down names and maybe suggest to Kylie what she names her kid? Right. No, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to go do a woodworking project, or I'm going to edit this video so that it looks halfway decent, right? Right. And I'm going to get it submitted because, I'm sure other people might possibly have an opinion. They might want to watch it. They might be entertained. They might be. By the way, she is not important to me.
Right.
And we all act like, oh no, this happening over here, it's super important to me. It's not. The only reason that it is because you're allowing it into your country. You're allowing it into your world that is your home.
That'd be a good book.
Don't allow.
Just your country. Like you deciding on what you allow into your country, and you allow certain things to affect you.
Yeah.
You are in control of those things. I mean, it's like going back to like Junior and I talk all the time about the idea is that your thoughts are your thoughts. They don't have to be you. And so you need to be conscious of what it is that you want and what's important to you, and try to live towards that. It's not easy to do, because all this other stuff is just influencing us. You know what I mean? But I mean, it could be as simple as, like you said, just sucking your time away on Facebook. It's just sucking all your time away.
Yeah, I think I'm looking at, like, the whole country thing has got me kind of spinning in my mind.
You're welcome.
And I think that I need to...
I am a coach.
I need to start enforcing severe embargoes.
Well, you know what?
I think that's what I need to start doing.
Well, you know what's funny?
Just like you did. You created an embargo against Facebook into your life.
Well, and right? I said to my kids this morning, I said, listen, hey, listen, I think that's kind of a waste of your time. You guys are smart kids. We have lots of other things. I would much rather talk about other things with you than talk about Kylie Jenner. I mean, so in other words, I was letting them know my embargo and why I thought it was important to them, if I'm going to use your lingo. Right. You know what I'm saying? That's how you can affect people. Because I mean, if I was just like, fuck, I don't fucking care about her.
Yeah, but
don't talk to me about that kind of shit. But if I say, hey, listen, that really has no effect on my life, and I think it's a real waste of time.
But you're not imparting an embargo.
I'm not?
No, because you're still letting Levi's come in, and you're walking around the mall going, oh, yeah, there's Levi's, but you don't want to wear those. You want to wear Guess. Fuck, I'm dating myself.
Lizzie Cavaricci's.
Caps.
I saw some Z
Cavaricci's
yesterday. It was hilarious. It was at Ragstock in Iowa City. I was like, oh my God, I used to wear those.
I should buy some. Oh wait, I don't have a 28 size waist anymore.
Yeah. Nope. No 28 size waist around here.
But I'm just saying, it's not an embargo. If you're having a conversation, like, oh, hey, by the way, here's an iPad, view everything in the world. But you know what? Let's be thoughtful about what we're saying. It's not an embargo.
It's not an embargo, but
an embargo
at this point,
they're gone.
Teenagers,
they're not allowed.
Teenagers don't see things like that. They are trying to discover so much shit and trying to learn themselves. So me teaching them about how to have an embargo, I thought was more useful than just me being the dick dad going, I don't fucking care about that shit. It's worthless information. Don't listen to it. That to me,
I don't know why you had to yell it.
They shut those things off, right? Me saying this is why I think it's pointless.
Set it up like an experiment. Set it up like explain why you're imparting an embargo.
Yeah. Oh, and I like that.
Listen.
This terminology is really fun.
Right now, you guys are obsessed with let's talk about what's important to you. Like, don't let them in on the secret yet, right? Right. Trick their ass because you gotta trick them. So have a conversation like, oh, we're having a great conversation, but secretly you're making little notes of all these fucking things that are important to them that they're into, whatever, and then take that list and go, okay, how many of these things would they never fucking know about?
Right.
If it wasn't for the iPads or the tablets or the computers or the internet, like how much of that actually is going to change their reality here in Cedar Rapids? Okay, 90%. Holy shit.
Right.
Hey, kids. All right. Awesome. I tricked you. I just want to let you know you were part of an experiment. This is what we're going to do. I want to show you guys how much we're influenced by shit that doesn't mean anything to us.
There you go. It's a great idea.
I'm not punishing you. I want you to see how much your personality is being influenced by the infidels of these other countries. We're going to put an embargo on the country of Todd.
And it's hard, too, because that embargo, this is really fun lingo, that embargo is going to put you up against your friends who don't want those embargoes.
Yeah.
And to be in with your friends, you got to have you can't have any embargo against Kylie. You have to have an open border for Kylie, or you have to have an open border for whatever.
Can you imagine the embargo at my house if I took away Facebook?
I think that's where wars ensue. I think it might be.
Oh God, North Korea has nothing on my wife if I were to take away Facebook.
Some serious ICBMs.
And you wonder why North Korea wants to bomb people. Think of it. I just put an embargo on you. Mm-hmm. You want Facebook? Nope. I'm telling you, you can't have it. I want blue jeans. Nope. I'm telling you, you can't have it. Motherfucker, you're really fucking with my shit.
Yes, that's right.
Oh, you want an iPad? No. You want this? No. You want energy? No.
Well, and the other day I was thinking about I was listening to Joe Rogan when somebody hit a bear, and they had played the audio on it.
They hit a bear?
Yeah, this guy is walking
in a car?
Yeah, he's like,
or they just punched a bear.
No, he hit a bear with his car.
Okay.
And so he was talking about how to be careful about driving and stuff like that. So he goes, yeah, this guy hits this bear, and it's hilarious. The guy freaks out when it happens. It's so funny. So I get on YouTube. I stop the podcast. I get on YouTube.
Watch it.
And I look at it. Yeah.
Okay.
I look at it, and this guy's like driving, going, yeah, I'm heading home right now. She's like, okay, what are you doing now? And he's like, I'm on this road, but it's been a long day. I just want to go home and smoke a huge bowl and just relax. And all of a sudden, this bear literally right out in front of him, and he hits the bear. The bear flies a good 40 feet away into the other ditch, stands up and walks away.
Okay.
And
badass.
But the guy's like, oh my, what the fuck? I just hit a bear. It's so funny. But I was watching that, and
which is what we would all do. If you don't say that, you're broken.
Right. Yes. And so I forget what you just.
I'm sorry.
God damn it. I hate it when this happens. It just flies out of your head, and you can't remember anything.
Dude, you watched the video. Oh my God, God damn it.
I know, but it was relating back to something else completely, and I don't even fucking remember what it was about. It's okay. Doesn't matter.
Do you want to go to me?
Do you want to go to I don't it may pop back in my head at some point, but I'm not going to worry about that.
I'm so sorry. I'm so
That's
sorry.
Okay.
One, you have a very fragile mind.
Oh, that we both know.
Now, I think this is kind of funny, and I want to say this because
I'm looking at my notes. That's why I want to make sure.
It totally took me off guard when this was said to me the other day. Here's the scenario. I'm going to lay the foundation. So I'm at work, and I'm in this room. I'm in a somewhat large. I'm in a room large enough to hold like 10, 15 people, right? And this one woman is just incessantly bitching. Just non-fucking stop. As soon as she walks in the room, literally sucks the joy out of the room.
Yeah.
Like there is no silver lining. There's zero fucking silver lining to this, except for you know what? I take that back. The thinnest angel hair of a silver lining. That's what's left over. The thinnest angel hair of a silver lining. And then I'll tell you what it is. So she's going on and on and on about how fucked up Obama is, blah, blah, blah. He's not even in office anymore. Let it go.
Right.
But she's going on and on and on about all these liberals and all these kids and all these fucked up values that they do or don't have. And she can't stand that they're bitching about Trump. Right?
Mm-hmm. Oh, this is
going on. They should just shut the fuck up. And why are they protesting? Blah, blah. And then she does exactly what she was bitching about those kids doing. She goes on a rant about Obama, just non-stop, like he's still actively the president.
And causing her personal problems.
And causing her, like he just walked into the room and bitch slapped her and then walked back out. Right. Like that's how that's how she's so angry, right?
Right.
So it's her, another guy. There's 4 of us in the room. There's her, another guy, a woman, and me.
Okay.
And I'm trying, God, I'm just so desperately trying to ignore the words that are coming out of her mouth.
Okay.
I'm actually turned away from her. I'm trying to occupy my thoughts on the computer, and I just can't take it anymore. I just cannot fucking take the sewage that is coming out of her fucking mouth anymore. And I turn around and I try to say, with as much love.
We know you're capable of it. Yeah, go ahead.
Sincerity. I really do. I don't yell at her. I don't get mean. I don't get mad. And I just said, I go, you know what I think's interesting? You, for the last 10, 15 minutes, have been complaining nonstop about a president who's not even our president anymore. I'm not saying you're wrong or right about being frustrated with what he did or did not do. I'm not arguing those specific points. Mm-hmm. I'm not arguing the fact that you should be upset with a Democratic president. I'm not arguing that fact. But what I want to enlighten you on, which I don't think that you recognize, is that before this last 10, 15 minutes, you were just bitching about all these people that you don't understand who are bitching about the current president. And you're sick of people bitching. Now, I am a hypocrite, just so you know. I'm not going to be hypocritical about what I'm saying about you being a hypocrite. I am a fucking hypocrite. I'm telling you this, right? But I'm also want you to be aware of how silly you sound, right? I'm trying to just for a moment hit pause. Just hit pause for a moment, because I try to do that. I know that I get on a rant sometimes, and I know that my thinking is not the best.
And we all have opinions. Yeah.
But I hope that at times I go, whoa, wait, hold, Jesus Christ. I'm being kind of hypocritical right now, aren't I? I hope that I can do that. I'm helping you understand that maybe you shouldn't bitch about everybody bitching about Trump and then turn around and bitch about Obama. And how about we just have a good day? Now, this is what she turns around with. Now, the other lady that's in the room, I think she's a liberal.
Okay.
I think, but the other guy is definitely a conservative Republican, right? And the only reason I'm even bringing those points up
is because
this girl, this lady who has been bitching
right
for 20 minutes and absolutely ruined the feeling of the room. Actually just sucked out the positive energy like a fucking black hole. No longer to ever return. She turns to the kid, the guy, and she goes, now, she brings up points like, now, wouldn't you agree that Obama did these fucked up things? I wasn't arguing those things, mm-hmm. right? But that's what she says to the guy. The guy goes, listen, you just can't talk to some liberals. I go, I'm not a fucking liberal.
Right.
Don't, I'm not a Democrat. I'm not a liberal. I'm a person. I have some liberal ideas and I have some conservative ideas. I have some ideas that I think that nobody else would agree with at all. And I think that there are ideas that people would agree with. I'm not a Democrat. Don't just put me in a box over here so that you can
dismiss
me. I brought up a legitimate point. You're being a hypocrite, and I don't want to hear it.
I thought I did it nicely.
And I thought I did it nicely.
You could say shut the fuck up and stop talking. I don't hear your bullshit.
And the other lady who was trying to tactfully shoot down all of her
little points
that she was making. Like she would say something about Obama, and she goes, "Well, Bush did that first," or "Don't you think Trump's doing that now?" Something like that.
Right.
Like she was trying to be tactful about it. But it angered me so much that this guy called me a liberal. And so then my supervisor comes down.
Do you think it angered you so much because you were trying...
It took me off guard.
You were trying to be...
I don't consider myself a
right,
liberal,
but you were also trying to be thoughtful about what you were saying and just point out contradictions. You weren't saying, hey, shut up, you Republican whatever.
Right.
You were just saying, hey, listen, do you realize that you're doing the same thing you're complaining about?
Yeah, so then my supervisor... One of my supervisors walks down into this room. He comes down from upstairs. And I go, this fucking guy right here just called me a liberal. Can you believe that? He goes, have you watched your show? The fuck? Wait a second.
I don't see you that way at all.
I felt like saying, have you watched my show? I go, on my show, Todd is the bleeding heart liberal, and I'm the guy who takes generally the
other side, yes,
devil's advocate point of view, whether I like to or not. I try to fight what Todd is saying almost always.
That's why whenever I hear you say things like people at your work referring to the bleeding heart liberal, I assume they're talking about me. And you're the one,
they are.
And the one that but you say that they're talking about you just as much.
But they also think that I am. Yeah.
That's so interesting. But again, it's getting back on teams. It's like you cannot be on the opposite team.
So then I started thinking about this. Are you the people? Are you this group of people that have now said, don't question anything that I feel or think? And as soon as you do, as soon as you start saying shit like, well, why? Why do we get so upset about the national anthem? As soon as you question anything, I'm going to take it as you're a fucking bleeding heart liberal, and you're trying to destroy everything that I feel strongly about
or I stand for. And you take it so personally. I mean, the way you just said it is perfect because you are trying to destroy me. And that's what it comes down to.
Right.
It's not like a discussion of ideas. It's not trying to understand perspectives. It's like, you're on your team, I'm on my team. Thank you for showing your cards. You're not on my team, so fuck you.
Right.
And that's what it comes down to. And that's what I think. I am more than happy to say that I don't fall on anything. I feel like I'm all over the place, and I try things and do things all the time and switch things around because I don't ever know if I know the right answer. I don't trust myself enough to be like, okay, I think I believe this way, and that's it. I don't feel good. It doesn't feel like my personality to do that, which is why people make the comments of like, do you ever follow through with anything? Do you ever believe anything? Or my therapist saying, oh, that's nice, Todd. That means you don't have to commit to anything. That sounds convenient. And I go, oh, fuck, that hurt. And
why does it hurt?
Because it's true. And I'm not.
Yeah, but why is a lack of commitment hurtful to you? Is it because you have this image of who you think you are and you want to be the character in the book that is very committed? As soon as he takes a stand, fuck, you can't move that fucking guy.
Or it's more of like pointing out that I don't have the confidence to be committed, and I know that I lack that. So that's why it hurt.
Is it the confidence to be committed? Now I know this drives some people crazy. Like somebody's trying to tell me a story at work, and I'm like, no, let's dig into this.
No, go ahead.
Is it your confidence to commitment, or is it just a non-committal personality?
Oh,
because
I don't know.
This was kind of a big thing for me growing up, was deciding who do I want to be, right? And there was a time in my life, junior high, freshman, sophomore year, where I super low self-esteem, very low self-esteem. I was on the fringes of all these different groups.
Right.
I had friends, but those friends were really cemented in all these little. I always felt like I was on the outside.
Me too.
Right. And I found myself like, I don't really enjoy hanging with a lot of people during lunchtime or whatever. I'm going to start just hanging out in the library. I'm going to go to the library, start reading books. I said this a couple months ago to my kids, and my wife was there, and she goes, "What?
Fucking loser."
No. She goes, "You were in a library? Fuck you!" Why do I not look like I spent time in a library?
Because you're a meathead like the rest of us. That's why.
How dare you? How dare you?
I take personal offense to that.
I was in junior high. I wasn't a meathead in junior high.
I was trying to avoid awkward social situations. Absolutely.
Okay, so I found myself in the library a lot and just like reading during lunch hour and stuff where when other people were in the gym, playing basketball or whatever. But while I was reading all these different books, I would pick out a character in that book and go, I wish I was more like that person. That guy is so fucking cool. James Bond is so cool. Buck Rogers, look at him. That's not, obviously they weren't books back then, they were movies, but I remember thinking, that's who I want to be. Look at all the personality traits that character has. That's my idol. Oh, I like that about that person. Oh, I like that about that person. Do you feel like you had an image of who you felt like you wanted to be that you had on this little pedestal?
No.
And you were like, oh, well, that person's super committal.
I had too many examples of who I did not want to be. And I never had any good guidance as to
who you wanted
who
to be?
I wanted to be.
Really?
Yeah. So I was always kind of floating out there. If I had one person that I really wanted to be like,
well, I don't want to be that guy because he's too angry and he makes me feel like shit. And I don't want to be that person because they're too popular and they treat non-popular
and
kids
I had
cool.
to, and I think again, I'm trying not to give a pity poor me case, but I had so many transitions in my life.
Sure.
So many, I think it was 9 schools by the time I graduated from high school, multiple parents, multiple families, multiple traveling and transitions. And so I don't think I ever...
You're almost like a foster kid.
Almost. And I felt like that I never had a chance to really kind of sit down and solidify who I wanted to be. And so because I've always had those kind of weird transitions, it's hard for me to be committal to one way of thinking because I'm not totally sure that I'm totally right. And so I leave myself open. Yes, I probably lean liberal, and yes, I probably lean democratic, but I'm now discovering more conservative traits in myself that I'm cool with. I discovered that structure is a huge thing for me to be functional. I have to have some kind of structure in place, whether it's using a planner for work or it's keeping track of my calendar for home life, stuff like that. So, you discover those things over time in yourself, but I never had anything in my life. I remember one thing I was going to make sure I did when I grew up, and this is pretty apparent, is that I was going to be as much as I could be, a loving, caring person. That was the one thing I always wanted to be because I had good examples of that. I saw how that made your life a little bit easier and difficult at times. But other than that, I just got lots of examples of how I didn't want to be and how I didn't want to live. And why that didn't bleed over for me to discover people or ways of being that were the opposite of that, I don't know. But I'd never, because I always found it really intriguing because knowing you for so long, knowing that you had this superhero kind of way of thinking about things, because those are the people that kind of had all those traits, and you really held on to those kind of things when you discovered them. I never had
that.
I never had that. Yeah, never had that at all. And I think that's why when people hear me being wishy-washy or non-committal or trying a fucking million different things and trying on millions of different hats, it's because there's still part of me that's just like, well, I'm pretty convinced now this life is nothing but discovery and change. And so I kind of embrace that now and being like, it can be whatever the fuck I want it to be. And so I might be, CrossFit is the most committal thing I've ever done when it comes to like working out. And so I was like, that works for me. Even though I don't do it in a gym anymore, I still try to do CrossFit-like things because the regiment was something I really enjoyed. So as I discover things, this podcast has been a pretty consistent thing. But as I discover those things, I'm okay with the fact that it's always going to change and always be different. And I want to instill that in my kids because our kids still feel like they've got to start making fucking decisions. And I'm like, for some things, yes, you have to start making decisions, but you don't have to fucking map out your life right now. That's crazy talk. You can start discovering who you want to be. You can start deciding if you want to be, like Kylie Jenner. If that's what your choice is. I hope not. If you're one of my kids, I'm assuming that you'll make a different choice.
I don't even know what that means. Be more like Kylie Jenner.
I don't know what that means either. All I know is that if they're going to have that on their phone, whether they like it or not, they're going to be fucking inundated with it. Right? So
unless you set an embargo.
And say, you know what? But guess what? That's the hard part. When you're a teenager and you're on the fringes and you're in the outskirts of things, if you don't have the wherewithal for yourself or the fortitude to be like, hey, I'm going to be myself. I'm going to go to the fucking library and read. And I'm fine with that. Nowadays, nowadays, probably the same thing then. It was like, where the fuck is Matt at? Oh, bitch. He's in the library again. Can't hang with us. I don't know if that happened or not. But
neither do I, because I wasn't there. But I was in the library.
my kids would be thinking, well, if this kid likes this, then I probably should like it too, because he's a popular kid. I want to be in that crowd. I don't like being on the fringe. I'm going to start following certain things or doing certain things because that's what this guy does.
Well, that stuff for sure happened also, but it was, and it sounds, I'm making it sound more noble than what it was, which was just me finding a safe place.
Right.
Me
avoiding conflict.
Yeah, it's like going to the movies. Like I don't like right now. Life sucks. When I was in junior high,
okay,
right. This next couple hours, I don't enjoy it. This area, this time frame sucks. How can I distract myself? Oh, it could have been movies or it could have been books. But you're going to watch something and be entertained by something. And there's always going to be these archetypal characters,
right?
Whether it's a YouTube video or it's a movie or a book or your parents or somebody in your neighborhood, and you're going to say, "Oh, I like that person. They just make me feel good." Well, why? Why do they make you feel good? Patty Cake. Mm-hmm. By the way, she did watch. Remember when I said she didn't watch?
Yeah,
somebody was watching and she came to relieve them. They go, "Oh, Pat, you're on the internet." So then she leaned over my shoulder and she goes, "By the way, I watched." I was like, "Oh God, we talked about anal ATMs and all this other stuff." And I told Tim that, and Tim's like, "Oh my God, my stomach hurts because I don't even want to think about Patty Cake listening to all the bullshit that you say." But
that's really awesome.
But there's time. But you're gonna pick people. And then what I think is super important, which I don't think you did for yourself, but you still saw, you were still a part of being able to pick these people. You didn't think, why do I like that person? What's the character about that person that just stands out for me? Because you're my friend, but there's characteristics of you that I love that Tim doesn't have.
And vice versa.
And I really like Tim. And why is Tim one of my closest friends? Because he has this trait and that trait and this trait.
Is it interesting, though, that even though Tim and I are polar opposite people in so many areas, but when he and I get together, we have the best time? So is that more about just our overall personalities that we get along with people generally? Because even though I'm sure,
I definitely have friends that when they get together, they don't enjoy each other.
Oh, okay. Well, maybe that's just unique to Tim and I then. Because I mean, it's funny because I would agree with you everything you've ever said about Tim, but I don't think Tim would ever say anything bad about me because we.
Well, he did say that you were the fattest vegetarian he'd ever seen.
When I was a vegetarian.
When you were a vegetarian.
Yeah, because vegetarians eat chips and dip.
Yeah,
we don't eat vegetables.
But what I'm trying to get at is you don't have to hide away in a library. You don't have to do a certain thing. Ask yourself. Just ask, like I was asking that guy, why is it important to you that the national anthem, you stand and take your hat off? Try. I don't have the answers. Like really think about, why is it important to me? Why am I being affected this way? Why do I like that person? Why do I like this character in this book? What are the aspects of that? Let's break it down. Oh, I like it that people depend on him. I like it that he comes through in a pinch. I like it that he's just got that nonstop attitude. Do I have that in me? No. What can I do? You know, there's little times in my life, like these little fucking diamonds, these jewels that you really need to, appreciate when they're happening. Because, my first marriage, when Jessica got me this Stephen R. Covey fucking planner, that planner was significant to me. It wasn't just a notebook. It was significant because the steps in which, and if you lived back in the late 1990s,
early 90s.
No, I was in the military in 97, 98.
Oh, okay.
So if you had the opportunity to have a Covey planner, a Franklin Covey planner, there was a routine. There was something that you did as you put it together. You didn't just you didn't just take the wrappings off of it and start fucking taking down notes. Like, they walk you through a process to make this a unique thing to you.
A useful tool.
And one of the tools that they said, or that they had you do, was, okay, you're reading this thing and it tells you, I want you to pick, 3 to 5 really important people in your life or idols, right? And now I want you to write down what you would have each of them say at your eulogy.
That's powerful.
Oh, I'm thinking, God damn, I just want to fucking get this fucking thing together so that my wife at the time stops bitching at me about getting, organized. I didn't think of this significance at the time. Mm-hmm. But then I started to do it. I picked my mom, I picked my dad, I picked some different people, and I start writing out. I truly start thinking about, what do I want them to say about Matt? All right, well, I would like them to say that Matt was like this, and Matt did that. And Matt made me feel really comfortable at this time. And Matt was really funny when we had some dark times out in the field, in the military. And or Matt was courageous, and he didn't give a fuck what people thought. And in basic training, he would sing. Like, there was times where I would sing a lot, different fucking songs. We don't have radios in basic training, we weren't entertained, but I wasn't embarrassed, and I would just sing different silly little songs, country songs, pop songs, whatever. But that was entertaining, and that helped one of my best friends from that time, which was Brian Lance. He had mentioned it once about me singing. So I wrote all these things down, and then at the end, okay, so you go through the step and you haven't turned the page yet. Like, you don't know what the next step is. So then you turn the page after you've written everything down that everybody says about you at your eulogy. And it says, all right, are you that person? Do you really have the traits that these people said you had? Mm-hmm. And if not, start today. Start today and be the man that you want them to say that you are. If you're not the person that made people laugh, if you're not the person that was caring and loving in a difficult time, be that person.
Wow, that's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Does it still exist, the Steve Covey system?
I don't
want to go back to 97
I really don't
either,
think so.
But that's a great way
I don't think Palm Pilots exist anymore.
But I mean, when you start talking about things like that, it makes me think of, wow, I should do that with my kids.
Yeah, you don't need to have a Stephen Covey planner to do that with your kids.
Because we do fun little writing things and reading stuff like that.
Talking about death with my kids, one of them just starts crying. Oh. He does not like talking about death.
Well, I mean, you could turn it around instead of a eulogy, make it a acceptance speech at a college or graduation for something. I mean, you can make it into anything you want.
I think teenagers, juniors, seniors, maybe seniors,
right.
Maybe they would be able to comprehend, who do I want to be, instead of what career path. I mean, you really are just shoving down the fucking throats of juniors and seniors in high school. Hey, what are you going to be when you grow up?
Right.
Who do I want to be?
I'm thinking,
what kind of person do I want to be?
Well, and see, I'm thinking, I had a conversation with my 13-year-old the other night, and I was just giving him perspective, saying, you had 5 things today that sucked. You had 5 things today that were awesome. You told me that.
Right.
So are you going to focus on the 5 things that were awesome, or are you going to focus on the 5 things that sucked? This is the choice you have to make. It's one or the other. Yeah. And I'm not saying one's easier to do or one's not, but you better start realizing that your life is full of these 2 things. You can look at your day and go, this really sucked.
Yeah.
But you know what? It sucks so bad, I'm going to go have 3 or 4 beers and sit in the bathtub and soak and just revel in my misery.
Are you gonna bring in a little
Like a tray,
little tray, and put a book on it.
No, I was gonna say no. I mean, like
some
you're
super
gonna wall
liberal, fucking bleeding heart, fucking pansy, pussy little bath that you're gonna soak in. Oh God, my day was just so rough. I need to unwind.
No, I was saying like you were sitting in the tub in your misery. I meant in the badness. Or are you gonna say, yeah, today was horrible, but tomorrow is going to be totally different. I'm going to go to bed early, get a good night's sleep, and just approach the next day as best as I can. So I think it's important to have those moments even now, because like I just said, I had nobody giving me any perspective at all through most of my life as becoming a young man. And I didn't need to have any groundbreaking things happen. I needed like little lessons throughout my life to happen.
Yeah, but everybody
to guide me. Yeah.
You just have to be aware of it when it happens.
Right, but I think it's our jobs to make them be aware sometimes. I think being a teenager is fucking horrible. And so I think it helps to have some perspective and say, hey, listen, I know that life sometimes seems confusing and it sucks and these people want to hang out with you, these people don't want to hang out with you, you don't know where you fit. It's very, very confusing. Here's a couple things you could focus on that might just make things a little bit lighter.
1, masturbation is not a bad thing. It doesn't make you a bad kid.
Oh, God, isn't that true? Oh, hey, I remember what the thing was that I forgot.
Get to it, Todd.
All right, well, we can finish it on this. We're almost out of time. But I was thinking, no, what it was is that I get worried because we're so inundated and our kids have devices that allow them to be inundated. That because I watched that video of that guy hitting the bear and I thought, fuck, that was crazy, right? But right below it was craziest something or other. I forget what it was. I think it might have been car crashes. I can't remember. But then I thought, so I was like, oh, I wonder what that is. I clicked on that. It was fucking horrendous. I mean, you didn't see anybody die, but you saw multiple car accidents where everybody fucking died, like head-on collisions. Like somebody went over to pass, right? And the car came and they came back over. And then went back over again, boom, head-on collision. Everybody died. Just horrible things like that. And so my first thought is like, I don't want my fucking kids to see this. Then the only way that's going to happen is to remove these devices from their hands. Like, that's literally the only way.
Embargo.
Because, talking about Kylie Jenner, that's benign compared to some things maybe. But still, if they have access to it, they're going to fucking find it. That's why I still think it's funny when kids are like, what's porn? I was like, well, don't type in dick into your phone because you'll find it, or pussy into your phone, you'll find it.
Wait a second. How old are your kids?
13.
And they just said, what's porn?
Yes.
My kids were exposed to porn at a very young age.
You say that so proudly.
There's nothing to be embarrassed about.
Do
not be ashamed.
I got a good
porn.
one for you. I got to go at dinner table. All of us sitting around talking, and we're talking about my lady brought up something about sex. I can forget what it was, and my 13-year-old goes, "Oh my God, please let's not talk about this." And then my 11-year-old goes, "Can we please talk about it? Because I keep having dreams, and I wake up and I feel traumatized." I was like, what the fuck? I'm like, you're traumatized because of
something. Is he wearing a gimp mask?
No.
What kind of shit are you?
He's having dreams about probably what he thinks sex is like, and it's really disturbing to him because he doesn't understand it yet. And so I was like, this is why we talk about stuff. Because what you might find disturbing might actually be normal. You just don't know the difference yet.
Or
what your dream is really fucking demented, and we got to talk about it then.
Or you just get a subscription to Cinemax.
And
let your kids watch some softcore loving porn that you don't really see like hardcore penetration. You just see the act of love.
That bothers me more than them watching porn for some reason.
Dude.
I don't know why. Just kidding.
Yeah. Now, when I said no, my kids were, exposed to that early on. Mm-hmm. It wasn't on purpose. You've heard the story, right? Where
I have. But we talked about Junior thinking that the way you had sex at the end is you come on somebody's face. Because up to that point, he had only seen porn. He hadn't actually had sex with anybody yet. So his interpretation of it was, oh, hey, do I get to come on your face now? Because we're at the end. That's a weird thing if you don't talk about it. And so when my son was like, I'm having these disturbing dreams, I was like, okay, we need to talk about it because it's not a disturbing thing. It's a good thing. Yeah. You just got to make sure it's right in the right time. But I like how you turn it around to something demented. I like that. I like that about you.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much, Todd. I was just talking to a friend of mine the other day about how we were influenced as kids into sex. And I'm like, I'll be honest with you. My whole childhood, all of my teenage years, it wasn't even until my first marriage. Actually, I take that back. It wasn't until I was 16 and I had been inundated with porn a lot.
VHS tapes?
VHS tapes before I was 16. But the first time a girl went down on me and I came in her mouth, up until that point now, I thought it was in a woman's DNA to think that my cum tasted like Cheerios. I don't know, that tasted yummy, like sugar. Like, oh, she's going to love this. Why? Because every porno, the women just gobbled it up like, oh, life substance. Right? So we were laughing. We were just laughing about how stupid we are as kids and the ridiculous mindsets we have and how wrong we are about sex. And so I was talking to my friend about this, and she was just fucking laughing. She goes, you honestly thought that just because it was a girl that she would love the taste of your semen. I go, I know, it's stupid. It's really stupid now as a 42-year-old man to say these things and to think these things, but I'm laughing at it because all kids are fucking stupid.
And the things influence you at such an early age and can stick with you, because I'm the same thing when it comes to sex. I remember seeing the cover of Easy Rider magazine in a bookshelf in a convenience store, and this has got to be 1979, 1980. And the cover was...
I was 6.
Good for you. My girlfriend wasn't even born yet. And on the cover was a motorcycle, obviously, and on the tank... No, this is inside the magazine. On the tank, in one of these write-ups of the fast, cool-looking motorcycles, was a picture of a guy going down on a woman, and it was on the side of this Hell's Angels motorcycle tank, right? Okay. And I remember going, huh, what's that? And my uncle going, oh, well, sometimes when men and women have sex, that's called oral sex, and that's what guys do to girls. And I remember from that point on being fucking fascinated as to why that felt good and why that worked. Huh. And it makes me think that's why I like it now. It's because as a really small kid, I was just wondering and being infatuated about, I had no sexual inclinations at all at that point, but being like fascinated, like, what, how the fuck does that work? And my girlfriend talking to me about the reason why she was so ready to have sex when she was in high school was that from a when 11, 12, 13, when she started hitting puberty, she was like, same thing. What is it like to have somebody else inside of you and what that feels like? That sounds like intriguing. Like that sounds so crazy. And so we have these things that affect us at an early age. It has nothing to do with sex at all. It's just curiosity and finding things that kind of strike you. And so it takes me back to, and we can end on this inundation of things. So instead of you discovering things that kind of like, oh, I wonder what that's like, or I wonder what what that feels like, or I wonder if this is, what it's like to be in this position, not sexual, just in anything. Now we're being fucking force-fed what you should be thinking about, force-fed what's important, force-fed what you should be interested in. And so you don't ever get a chance to think and process for yourself of what it is you do find interesting. Oh, I guess I got to be interested in fucking Kylie Jenner. That's all the thing that's in my feed and everybody else's feed. So I guess that's what I got to be interested in.
I really didn't think that this was going to be a main topic or a main...
I don't mean to keep bringing it up. It's just kind of in my head, Kylie Jenner. If that's what you're going to...
No. I was going to say I have a friend.
Is it Kylie Jenner?
Named Foxy.
Foxy.
At least that's what I call him. Foxy. True story. Foxy. Anyway, Foxy had it in his head for a long time. I really want to get a motorcycle. And he did recently. He bought a motorcycle. Now, he got it at the beginning of the summer. He's ridden it throughout the summer. He took a motorcycle class. He's a very fucking beginner rider, right? Motorcycle rider. And the other day, he's like, hey, man, looking to sell my bike. Do you know anybody who's interested? I said, wow. Well, how much? And all this stuff. And I said, why are you selling it? He goes, I thought that's what I wanted. But not really. And the thing that I didn't think that this would be significant to me for, it kind of is, especially in this conversation. Just because you try something, it doesn't mean that you are a biker.
Oh, sure.
You're a person trying something. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't for me.
And you thought maybe it was something you wanted to do, and it turned out not to be, and that's okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Huh. So interesting.
I think it's okay to be a little bit foxy-ish.
And be unsure and try different things.
Yeah, be unsure. Try some things. And you shouldn't feel bad that you're not a fucking biker.
Right.
You shouldn't feel bad that volleyball is not your sport. You shouldn't feel bad that your dad won't let you go out for football. You know,
right.
You're just a kid. You're just a person. You're just somebody trying something, figuring out what you like and what you don't like.
And your parents are trying to help you mitigate what is a rocky path. So I try really hard not to tell my kids what they should and shouldn't do. I try to say, you got some choices to make. Let's see if we can figure out which one's the best. Let's look at the pros and cons and see if we can find it. Because you know that telling somebody to do something doesn't fucking work. They have to be shown that or kind of coached through it. Otherwise, it's not going to stick. Yeah. So if you don't want your kids to be pregnant when they're 16, you might want to model your life a certain way and be open to talk about things a certain way so you don't have that happen. It's a terrible example. Is it back to Kylie again?
Yeah. Fuck.
I didn't mean for it to be. Anyways. Dude, good discussion because that's good because it helps me. I feel like such a flawed parent.
Why?
Because I don't have it all figured out. And I feel like I don't. And
Why
I don't
do you feel like you need to have it all figured out?
That's the thing is that I'm discovering that. So I mean, I say that with a little bit of I'm trying to have some humility about it because I think I'm a good parent, but I also know that I don't have it all figured out. So I'm always trying to see if what I'm doing is coming across. If I'm just going to be an asshole, my kids aren't going to listen to me. So how do I do it so that it comes across so that they can get what I'm saying? And so I'm always trying to process through those things. And the embargo and that kind of idea is good. It's black and white when things probably need to be a little bit more gray, but it's a good starting point of, well, why do you feel that way? Why are you so cut and dry on this? Well, because, this might happen or this might happen. And that's why I'm kind of like, there's certain things I allow in my borders and there's certain things that I don't because I'm unsure about how it's going to affect me or affect my family. And that's too important for me. So I have my limitations on certain things when it comes to aspects of my life. That's a big talking point, and that's a big lesson to teach a kid, to be open enough to have that conversation and be open enough to change, but also say, hey, there's certain things we're just like, sorry, just not going to happen.
Well, I think it's a big lesson that I need to remind myself of more often.
Right.
And I think it's a big lesson for every adult to be like, wait, I'm pretty laid back, but should I be upset about this?
Right.
Let me think about it. Let me look at all the different aspects of it. Maybe I should be more engaged. Or maybe I don't get engaged. Maybe I shouldn't still be ranting about Barack Obama. Maybe I shouldn't be ranting about how upset I am that people are upset at Trump.
Or why did I freak out when he called me a liberal?
Or why did I freak out when you called me a snowflake?
Yes, yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Why does that react?
Do not call me a fucking snowflake.
Right.
All right. Well, right now you're kind of acting like a snowflake.
Right. And then but part of that, I mean, that reaction is because I am kind of like a snowflake. There are parts of you that are kind of liberal. And so, but why do we think it's a bad thing? Why is that a bad thing?
That doesn't apply to the person that I wanted to be that I put on a pedestal.
Oh.
You know what I mean?
Maybe.
So don't fucking call me that. I'm a they.
Don't chip away at that foundation, you fucker.
Motherfucker, I'm a they. I just haven't written any suicide notes or asked anybody to kill me. Oh God, it's been a good day. It's been a good conversation.
It's been a good conversation. It was enjoyable. I like it. I mean, I just was like antsy to get back in here.
Get back in here.
Yeah, it's good. I mean, that's the best part is that we have conversations, and it always changes me.
Yeah, I don't know if we're ever gonna have guests again.
I was trying really hard to have somebody today, and both people didn't get back to me. But I'm already thinking ahead for next week. So.
But if you have comments or topics that you'd like us to look into and discuss because you really, really, really want Matt's interpretation of whatever scenario.
As scary as it is.
Yeah, as scary as it is. Leave it in the comment box below. This will be on Facebook and on YouTube. Todd, did you have anything else that you want to tell me?
No, I'd say still go to TPS, not TPS, but tpsmedia.co if you want to see what's happening on your website because you're doing lots of work.
Well,
under the scenes.
I'm doing a lot of work, but we haven't done anything necessarily. Like people wouldn't see it at the website. Like right now, we sad enough to say, but this is life, and I'll just say it. Sad enough to say, we spent a year on an audiobook project. Put a lot of time in it. I thought it was finished. Author wasn't happy with it. She changed her direction and what she wanted it to be like or sound like, or the theme, or I wanted it to be more of a salsa, whatever. Anyway, it got trashed. A year's worth of work down the tubes. So I feel terrible for the narrator. But there's other projects that we're working on, and one of them is Music Mage, and that should be out, Jesus Christ, within at least 1 or 2 months. That'll be out. And it's a great book with an amazing narrator if you like ladies with English accents. I always think English and Australian and British. I think all those accents are the fucking same. So
yeah, sorry guys.
I apologize.
Yeah, you're right though.
But it's a great book, Music Mage, and that'll be coming out. And I'll tell you more about that when it gets closer to the release date.
Cool. I look forward to it.
All right. Well, that's it for today on the Primal Scream podcast. I'm Matt.
I am Todd.
And we'll see you later.
Adios.
Good night.